it has become very common for people to describe the United States as very polarized right now. On the surface, it sounds like a safe, harmless thing to say. Maybe even one of those things you feel comfortable saying at work, thinking that it's an easy way to lament about the current state of affairs without kicking up too much controversy. But I'd like to challenge that. I don't think that phrase is as harmless or neutral as people act like it is. I think people say that to sound reasonable and to position themselves sort of outside the dysfunction. And also, if you listen carefully, the very next sentence is usually about laying blame for the polarization. And too often, people blame it on individuals who are holding on just a little too tightly to their convictions and are unwilling to compromise. Well, I reject that accusation. But here, I'm going to suggest one of the places where I think it is quite fair to lay the blame. You probably already heard me suggesting that to have more productive conversations, we need to get into the weeds. We need details. But the one thing I left out of that message, the one place I think I missed the mark, was neglecting to point out that sometimes people are vague on purpose. Sometimes a situation is intentionally oversimplified. And one way people overly simplify a situation is to give us false, extreme choices. And you may not have realized that this technique was being used on you. For example, when we were weighing whether to leave Confederate monuments up versus taking them down, we were told, what? We were told that what was at stake was remembering history versus forgetting history. Some people really, truly acted like those were the only two options available to us. The only possible outcomes of that type of scenario. We have been told that the only options are an open border with Mexico or a closed border with Mexico. I know of no candidate who wanted an open border. And there have always been processing procedures in place. And yet, those two options, that characterization was repeated endlessly by politicians, trying to get us worried, trying to get us worked up. And a few years back, we were told we could support our family members in law enforcement or speak out against police brutality. One or the other, not both. Blue lives versus black lives, they said. Well, no. Unacceptable. Yes, our nation feels very extreme right now. But it's not my strongly held beliefs or unwillingness to compromise that has led to the gulf between us. I instead believe that influential people who you and I turn to for information about our world are feeding us false choices, which is hindering our ability to have productive conversations about some pretty important things. All right, before I let you go, I'd like to sort out for you what I just said and where it came from. I did not make up the idea of false choices. It is what is known as a logical fallacy or thinking error. False dilemma even has a Wikipedia page. But what I am doing in this video is making the claim that the solutions to social issues are often framed as two extreme choices. Sometimes this is intentional, and that is one of the things that has led to a polarized society that is having difficulty finding its way forward. But there is some good news. Now we know. And just like G.I. Joe used to tell me back in the 80s, knowing is half the battle. We don't have to buy the ideas that they are trying to sell us. Keep watching Road Talks Race to learn to better navigate our complex social world.